The weakest boy of this dukedom is about to become the most dangerous prodigy in the world. If you enjoy OP main characters and royal manhwa, then subscribe to the channel and let's begin the story. We are shown a terrifying monster. On top of its head were many horrifying eyes, and its face looked extremely grotesque. It was the year 2047, a time when monsters had begun attacking humans. We see many soldiers from the army trying to fight the monsters using their weapons. But a monster suddenly attacks. One soldier's head is severed from his body, another is sliced cleanly in half. In the same way, the monster roars loudly and kills several soldiers in front of it one by one. All the remaining people are already exhausted. A young boy witnessing all this is completely terrified. Not a shred of courage remains in him. He says that everything is already over. Just as the monster's tentacles move in to kill him, a man suddenly appears in front of him and cuts all of the monster's tentacles with his sword, saving the boy. The monster screams in pain and in anger attacks again with its tentacles. Seeing this, the man swings his sword and easily slices all the tentacles apart. There isn't a single attack that can harm him in any way. Then another tentacle comes from above, but he quickly pulls out his pistol and shoots it, finishing it off. After all this, he tells the boy to get up because they still have to move forward. This man is the commander-in-chief and our main character, whose name is Hang Xiang. The boy agrees, picks up his gun and starts killing the monsters again. Song also modifies his sword, fully prepares it and moves forward. We are told that humanity has been fighting a war against monsters for more than a decade. After countless battles, only a few remain. Their goal is to reach the very end no matter what. As he says this, he aims at a monster that attacks him, trying to kill it. But suddenly, a magical circle opens in front of him. He is extremely confused. This is the first time he has ever seen something like this. In confusion, he wonders what it is, and suddenly he disappears from the battlefield. His gun falls to the ground and the boy is left completely confused after seeing his commanding officer vanish. He asks, "Where did you go?" Then we are shown several chains. Song's name is mentioned and glowing chains tightly wrap around his neck. He is shown bound inside multiple magical chains, as if imprisoned. In front of him are several robed people who say they never thought they would actually succeed. They wonder if this is truly the hero from another world they had heard about. People discuss him in this way while Song remains completely confused. He asks what these glowing chains mean and where he even is. An old man removes his hood and says, "Hero from another world, welcome to our empire. We know this is very sudden, but we summoned you here to defeat the Demon Lord and save our world." Song, confused, asks, "Demon King?" Angrily, he demands to know what nonsense they are talking about, who they are and where he is. He says he doesn't have time for this nonsense and that he should be in Korea right now. Before he can continue, the old man interrupts him and uses magic, ordering him to be silent. They use powerful restraints to subdue Song. A violent electric shock runs through his body, causing immense pain and making his soul tremble. The old man tells him not to resist. He says this magic won't harm him as long as he listens carefully. But Song is already badly shaken by the pain, tears filling his eyes. Coughing, he thinks about the word peace. But this situation feels nothing like peace at all. The old man then pleads with him to defeat the Demon Lord and protect their empire. Saying this, he throws a sword toward him. He adds that if Song does this, he will send him back to his original world. So the old man asks, "Will you accept our request?" As he says this, his eyes shine as if this request is nothing more than an order, and if Song refuses to obey, he will be killed right here. After thinking for a moment with tears filling his eyes, Song finally agrees. After that, Song explains who he is. He was summoned into another world so that he could fight again, and inside the empire he became known as the hero from another world. He kept working without rest, fulfilling countless expectations. Again and again he destroyed everyone in his way and completed every endless request of the empire. Not for 3 years, not for 5 years, but for 10 long years. He sacrificed his entire childhood just to defeat the demon King Velro. In the end, he truly believes that he is finally free. Every night he dreams about what he will do once he finally returns home. But then the scene shifts to the old man again, who tells Song that he is about to give him his next mission. Hearing this, Song angrily says that this was not the promise between them. Calmly enjoying his drink, the old man replies that killing the Demon King does not mean the empire is completely safe. There are still many people fighting against the empire and all of them must be eliminated. They cannot allow any future threat to rise. Song only has to eliminate this one last danger threatening the Empire. In front of him lies a picture of a blonde-haired boy and the old man says, "Just kill him. After that you will finally be free. Help us just a little more. You can do that, right?" Song is overwhelmed with anger as his neck begins to glow. He realizes that a dog wearing a collar has no freedom to choose, and this thought fills him with rage. He just wants everything to end. The scene then shifts to the Night Kingdom of Tatonia, where an intense and deadly battle is taking place. Song completely pierces his opponent with his sword. In pain, the man asks if Song truly does not think he is a fool. Song, troubled, replies that he has no other choice and asks for forgiveness. The man responds that Song is the hero from another world and that he does not need to apologize because soon, he too will be killed the same way. Hearing this, Song becomes confused and thinks that now everything is finally over and he can return home. But suddenly a man appears behind him and pulls golden threads tight around Song's neck, choking him as blood starts to spill from his mouth. The man then stabs his sword straight through Song's chest and says that the hero from another world did an excellent job. Shocked, Song looks at him and asks if he is a count. The man replies that Song fought amazingly over the years and served the Empire well as its loyal hunting dog. He introduces himself as a great general and holy knight who acknowledges Song's efforts. As Song dies, he realizes that everything was a lie from the very beginning. They never planned to send him home. The Duke coldly replies that there was never a reason to do so because a hunting dog only knows how to bite. Saying goodbye, he leaves Song to die. As Song falls to the ground, he thinks that he knew they would never let him leave so easily, but he never imagined such humiliation. He swears that he will never forget this disgrace and that the Empire will pay the price by being completely destroyed. That night, one life closed its eyes while another opened them. The scene shows a newborn baby as a voice announces, "Congratulations, it's a boy." A golden-haired woman looks at the child with happiness and says, "My dear child, I'm your mother." And along with her, we see a tall man with long black hair. Beside him sits the same blonde-haired woman, tears filling her eyes. A voice is heard saying, "Who are these people? I've never seen their faces in my life." After thinking for a long time, Song suddenly remembers. "Yes, now I remember." We are then told that this black-haired man is the continent's greatest necromancer, also known as the Black Image, Duke Saxon. This means this place is the Empire's headquarters where forbidden magic is used, called Necropolis, also known as the Black Tower. That means the Stone of Reincarnation, which can only be used once, has been successfully activated. Song recalls the Stone of Reincarnation, which he had always kept hidden, planning to use it to break this dog leash binding him. The body he has been reborn into now depends entirely on fate, but when he thinks about it, he realizes he has been reborn as the first child of the Saxon ducal family, one of the Empire's most elite noble families. That can only mean one thing: this time he was born with a golden spoon in his mouth. Thinking this, he feels happy, believing that as he grows up he can fully master necromancy and completely wipe out everyone in the Empire who betrayed him. However, Duke Saxon looks slightly confused and asks, "Why isn't this child crying?" Hearing this, Song is confused. The nanny observes him and says it's very strange, he's breathing properly yet he's completely calm. His mother then says she should check his condition more closely. Song thinks to himself in confusion that he's not a baby whose tears would come out so easily. The nanny checks again and says, confused, that his breathing is completely stable, so there's nothing to worry about. Still, Saxon remains uneasy and asks if this might be a child who cannot cry due to some illness. The nanny reassures him, saying there's no need to be afraid or worried at all. If you really want him to cry, you just need to hit him lightly on the back like this until he starts crying. Saying that, the nanny begins patting his bottom. Song feels pain but no tears come out of his eyes, so she keeps going, turning his bottom red. Seeing this, Saxon says, "This child is really stubborn." His mother laughs and says, "He really is your child, that's why his will is so strong, now wait, let me." Saying this, she takes Song into her arms. Song thinks to himself, "You idiots. Your child is perfectly fine." He gets scared, thinking his mother will hit him even harder, but the very next moment she gently places her hand on him. He is completely shocked. "This warm, gentle hand on my body." Suddenly, memories of his past come flooding back, how he spent his life only destroying things and how long it had been since he last felt such warmth. The trembling, soft hand of a noble young lady, his new mother, makes him feel a kind of love he hadn't felt in years. Song, who hadn't shed a single tear even while growing up, can no longer hold them back. Feeling that love, he bursts into tears like a small child. Time moves forward and 8 years pass. Song's new name has become Dale, though we'll still call him Song. Alan and Alina are lying on their bed, both smiling. Alan says, "Time really flies." Alina replies, "Yes, ever since he turned 4 he's been glued to books." Alan agrees, saying he must take after her, and it looks like he's truly interested in magic. Just then his wife Alina turns to him and asks, "You haven't forgot the promise you made to me, right?" Alan replies, "You mean the promise that I wouldn't teach our son necromancy?" She smiles, slightly worried, and asks, "You remember it clearly, right?" Alan says, "Of course, how could I forget?" Then he adds, "You don't need to worry too much about him." But now Alan's 8th birthday is coming tomorrow, so what should we give him then? Just as they are thinking about this, there is a knock at the gate. Alan looks confused, wondering who could come at this time. A servant rushes inside, her face completely pale, and hurriedly tells them about Master Song, who is studying here. The moment they hear this, both of their faces turn pale. They panic and immediately run toward the library. Inside the library, Song is studying and mana is leaking out from his body. He looks extremely troubled. Seeing them, he calls out to them and powerful energy can be seen spreading around him. Both of them are shocked and surprised by this sight. His mother rushes to him and asks, "Are you in pain anywhere? What exactly is happening to you?" Alan tries to understand what he's seeing as he senses the mana being released into the air. Song says, "No, Mom, I'm completely fine." Alan replies, "I can feel mana in the air." But Song has just turned 8 years old and yet he's already releasing mana at such a level. Alan steps forward, looks at him with serious eyes and asks, "How did you release mana from your body?" Hearing this, Song becomes scared. He thinks, "I knew it. They notice right away that something is strange. I'm trapped. Even I didn't know I could release mana this early." Song tries to make excuses, thinking that if he doesn't answer properly they'll start doubting him and his true identity will be exposed. But in the next moment a smile appears on Alan's face. He pats Song and says, "Just as I'd expect from my son." Song is completely shocked and surprised. Alan continues, "Still, it's truly a shame that I can't teach you necromancy." Hearing this, Song thinks, "What, you can't teach me necromancy? Then what about my revenge?" Alina then says, "The servants will take care of everything, so you can go back to your room now." Hearing that, Song replies, "All right." And here Song hurriedly grabs his books and starts running toward his room. On the other side, seeing this, Alan smiles and says to his wife that he thinks he knows what gift he should give Song. After some time, we are shown the scene of Song's birthday. Inside the banquet hall, everyone had started gathering. That is, all the nobles within the Black Duke's territory had gathered there and were enjoying the party. Everyone was talking about how good Song looked, and how it had been a very long time since they had all gathered together in such a grand banquet. In this way, everyone was chatting among themselves and enjoying the party. On the other hand, seeing so many people gathered to enjoy his birthday celebration, Song looked quite tired, and this was probably because he had become accustomed to an outstrike lifestyle when he was a hero. So suddenly being treated like a young master felt kind of awkward to him. Besides all this, he was still genuinely worried about the fact that he had destroyed the desk yesterday. He still couldn't believe that his mana had completely gone out of control just because he remembered his hero days. He kept wondering who had left that book outside, the biography of the hero. But no matter how much he thought about it, it truly felt excessive that this body had so much talent that it could surpass necromancy. Still, he was worried about how he would convince his father that he wanted to learn necromancy. And on top of that, he had overheard last night that they were planning to give him some kind of gift. So he just wanted to know whether they could actually teach him necromancy. But worriedly, he said that he didn't think this would work at all. Just then his mother arrived and apologized for making him wait so long. She looked incredibly beautiful, and with her was a hooded girl who was coming towards Song along with her. Song also asked his mother about the girl who was with her. She then said, "Wait, I'll introduce her to you." And as she removes her hood, she introduces her, saying that she is an elder of the Blue Magic Tower as well as a water magic master, and that she is a wish elf lady named Sepia. Alina then says that from today onward she will be your teacher. After hearing this, Song becomes a little confused. Sepia greets him and says that she would truly be very happy to work with him in the future. His mother wishes him a happy birthday, and here Song becomes quite shy. He starts thinking that they actually brought an elder from the Blue Tower as his teacher. Does that mean they want to teach him water magic, which focuses on defense and disruption? This confirms what he thought, that his mother is the one who does not want him to learn dark magic. Sepia asks Song if they can talk alone for a while. After that, they move outside into a cold, icy area. Sepia says that, as he already knows, she was told to teach him only water magic. But she asks whether he is disappointed because she is sure there are many other types of magic that he would want to learn. Hearing this, Song is surprised and asks how she knows about it. Sepia replies that it is completely natural that he wants to learn his father's necromancy and dark magic. She then explains that the conditions of the Black Duke's marriage are known throughout the entire empire. When the Black Duke went and proposed to Lady Alina, she became worried because of his false reputation. Because of this, she made him promise that his dark legacy would not be passed down. That is why on their wedding day, all the elders of the Black Tower wore matching robes that were completely white instead of their usual black robes, which she remembers very clearly. And because of this promise, their marriage is bound by this condition. Therefore, it will be very difficult for him to immediately start learning dark magic here. However, she says that she will try her best to convince Lady Alina. Then she asks him whether he will accept her teachings. Still feeling a little confused, Song asks Sepia whether she does not feel strange about black magic and necromancy, because she is an elf who values the laws of nature. He asks whether reviving the dead does not feel wrong to her. Hearing this, she starts laughing and says that it is truly very amazing. She then asks whether the powers of holy priests who resurrect the dead are considered a part of nature. In her view, necromancy and resurrection are exactly the same. Hearing her words, Song is shocked and thinks that she is truly very different from the usual orthodox elves. This means that she is actually a much better teacher than I originally thought. Sepia then continues and asks, "So can we now move our relationship forward? I heard that a few days ago you formed fragments of a mana circle, so let our very first goal be to expand those fragments and bring you to the first circle." Song says with slight confusion, "The first circle? That actually sounds great because the magic book I've been reading requires the first circle to be used, so I should take advantage of this opportunity and form it here." Sepia tells him to place his hand over his heart and start concentrating. He does exactly as Sepia says, and he thinks that this world is completely different from Earth, a world filled entirely with mana. Unless you are an ancient being like a dragon, it is completely impossible to use or handle raw mana. That is why this raw mana needs to be filtered, and for that, a mana circle of the heart is required. All the fragments of the mana circle that are scattered around must be gathered and formed into a circular shape around the heart, rotating continuously. Understanding Sepia's guidance, he thinks that the mana circle is like a path that guides mana into the circle, and he just needs to do exactly what teacher Sepia told him. After concentrating for a while, he manages to fully gather all the fragments. Sepia says that he should start slowly and train it so it can rotate calmly around his heart. It usually takes about a month to complete, so there is no need to rush or worry. But in the very next moment, Song has already completed his first mana circle and tells Sepia that he has done it. Even he himself is a little confused, and Sepia becomes even more shocked and stunned when she sees this. The color drains from her face as she says, "Is this really possible for a child who started training just 1 minute ago to already form a mana circle? If this boy can do this, then it means he is truly an incredible genius." Now extremely curious, Sepia asks whether he can draw out and release his magical power through the center of the circle. He replies that he will try. As he concentrates, he thinks that if he were an ordinary boy, even pulling mana through the center of the circle would be a huge struggle. At this level, he would never be able to take revenge on the Empire, so for now, he decides to get a grasp of the situation. In his past life, he could only use lethal comet magic, a spell constructed directly on his body. But this time, everything is completely different. This body, which inherited the talent of the Black Tower's lord, is naturally accepting mana. So perhaps he will not be limited to learning only water magic but can also learn many other types of magic. For now, however, he focuses on his mana flowing out of his body and stopping at the tips of his fingers. He shapes it into the most dangerous and sharp form, directly aiming at the Emperor's throat. Song tries to recreate a gun from his previous life and forms a bullet made entirely of mana. Sepia is now completely shocked. She says that in most cases the mana form usually collapses at this stage. Whenever someone tries to release their mana from their body, it usually doesn't crystallize properly. But this one has crystallized his magical power and created a really good ice bullet. Right now, however, he is only focusing on the form itself, so its destructive power is actually quite low. But as soon as Song aims at a tree in front of him and the bullet hits it directly, the tree is completely destroyed in a single strike. A deep crater forms where the bullet hit, and the tree falls all the way down at once. Seeing the destructive power, Sepia is extremely shocked and astonished. She says that it's so sharp and hard that it has shattered an entire tree. This is not something even a small 8-year-old should be able to do. She then sits down to examine the tree more closely. Still shocked, she says that she had only expected him to move his mana well, but he has also released his magical power and infused it with ice elements. Even though this is a basic spell, the way he manifested it is impressive. This spell perfectly absorbed all the surrounding chills. Song, confused, asks Sepia, "Teacher, did I make a mistake here?" She smiles at him. Song tries to calm himself but realizes that these formulas are extremely advanced, and yet a small child has unknowingly performed them, rotating, accelerating, and compressing the mana. These 3 formulas are known as the golden ratio in military magic, and he has projected a highly dangerous and perfect spell without even realizing it. Song asks Sepia again about this, and hesitating, she says, No, you haven't done anything wrong." Now she finally understands why the Black Duke felt so much regret. In the next scene, we see Sepia with Alan. He asks, confused, "What do you mean you can't teach Song anything? If he reached the first circle in just 1 minute, there must be many other things you could teach him." Sepia replies that as soon as the young lord reached the first circle, he immediately created the perfect spell of slaughter. Hearing this, Alan is shocked and astonished. Sepia continues, saying that it is hard to believe that an 8-year-old boy created this because what he made was a perfect golden ratio, a formula of great military importance. If you really understand this, the young lord is fully talented for killing, he could easily defeat anyone. Hearing this, Alan worried says, you are an elder of the Blue Tower whose advocates are not ethical at all, but are you really saying that you can't teach him anything here? She replies, no, that's not it. She explains that precisely because of this her heart has a genuine eagerness to guide him properly with her own hands. Hearing this, Alan says, then you have even fewer reasons to reject him. But she continues, he wants to learn dark magic as well. Hearing this, her face went pale. She was extremely shocked. Then she continued, saying that it seems the young lord already knows exactly which magic he wants to learn, but he can't say anything. Sepia says that she had already heard the story of the Black Duke's romance, so she fully respects the promise he made to Lady Alina. But that doesn't mean she can take away the child's right to decide what he wants to become in the future, especially the young lord who has so much talent. Outside the gate, Song was trying to listen to their conversation. He thought, I don't understand their words here. Worried, he realized, it's clear they're talking about me. Tense, he thought about who could have imagined that his first spell would be this powerful. Even an elder from the water tower was extremely surprised. Now he would need to be even more careful to control his power. Sitting there lost in thought, he was troubled when suddenly someone called out to him. Song, confused, looked ahead and saw someone and very happily said, Uncle Hemelt. In front of him stood a man in black armor who said, Hey, what are you doing here? Song, excited, replied, More importantly, Uncle, where have you come from? Happily, the man lifted Song into his arms and said, I've been busy completing my duty here fighting useless and terrifying monsters. Hearing this, Song said, So you conquered another dungeon again? He went on to explain that in this world, dungeons appear and monsters overflow constantly. Every territory experiences huge events like this. From the time the Demon King was alive to the time of the Immortals, managing damage caused by monsters was never an easy matter. Because of this, all the knights of the Green Territory have a primary duty, to completely conquer all nearby dungeons built on the Demon King's land and to eliminate all monsters that break out due to dungeon overflow. This situation has become even worse because of the Duke of Situation. And if compared with other territories, part of the reason is Song himself, because his past self, a hero from another world, defeated the Demon Tower and assigned the Hook of the Situation the task of handling all monsters on the Demon King's land and keeping them under control, which turned that territory into Imperial territory. Professionally, this would be called taking on a dirty job. So Song said to his uncle, Please don't hurt yourself at all. His uncle replied, Young lord, you don't need to worry about me. At that moment, Alan also came out of his room. Seeing Hemelt, he said, It's good to see you. Hemelt, seeing Alan, was also happy. Alan said, You're working extremely hard on your campaign. At that moment, Alina came out with her servants and said, It seems everyone is gathering here. Song looked at her and asked, So Mom, what do you want here? Seeing Song, Alina smiled happily. And then she sat him down and said, I've heard you've reached the first circle. That's truly amazing. Even his father congratulated him. She added, If you need anything, just ask your father. Hearing this, Song began thinking. He thought, if I tell them I want to learn necromancy, they won't pay any attention to it at all, so what would a normal kid my age even think of? He said to them, I want a little sister. As soon as they heard this, both their faces turned red as tomatoes. His father said, All right, I'll try. Song got excited as well. Meanwhile, Hebard was trying very hard to suppress his laughter. One of his soldiers said, Please don't laugh, Captain. Next, we see Song running toward his room with his books. He said, Even at my age, pretending that my heart is completely pure, honestly, it's so tiring. Using magic like this had also exhausted him. Lost in these thoughts, he eventually fell asleep. But then memories from his past life came back, the moment when he had been betrayed and killed. The Duke had come from behind and pierced his chest with a sword, saying, It's been a pleasure meeting you. People could really be so soft, he never imagined it could be so easy. He thought, and now are you happy, because now you get to experience life at home with good parents. Your back is warm, your stomach is full, so who's thinking about revenge now? But the Emperor will definitely find you, Song. They will search for you until they finally eliminate you completely. Your traces in this world will never fully disappear. After this terrifying dream, Song woke up in a panic. His mana had started to overflow. He tried to control it and said, My heart is hurting so much it feels like it will burst. Is this a mana flow? I've only heard about this once. Truly, those Imperial bastards, I'm so angry at them. They won't let anything go until everything is completely destroyed. Thinking this, Song stepped outside. He thought, I thought that if I went out and got some cold air things might get better, but it's only getting worse. At that moment, Sepia appeared behind him. She said, "It seems you're in a lot of pain." Song, confused, looked at her and asked, "What are you doing here?" She thought, "The mana overload is exactly what you'd expect from a talented child, but this terrifying feeling, I can't do anything about it." Then she placed her hand directly on Song's chest. Suddenly, he felt his mana beginning to disappear. Sepia thought, if his magic is fully regulated, future issues won't matter as much. He struggled a little at first, but soon his mana was completely under control. He said, "The mana overload is gone." Sepia spoke to him. "The essence of magic is like a mirror of the heart. That's why even similar spells can have completely different characteristics, which depends on his mage skill and the magic talent inside. You could even take your life. Truly, this is a very dangerous and terrifying talent." So she took out a book and handed it to Song, saying, "I think it would be really good if I teach this to you." Seeing this, Song was a little confused and asked, "What is this?" Then he realized it was a necromancy spellbook. Sepia continued, "I honestly feel like it was fate that brought me to you." She then wished Song a happy birthday, and seeing this, Song quickly ran and hugged her. A few days later, we see a scene where Song was slightly confused when he saw a rabbit in front of him. Sepia said, "Yes, and remember the times when you used to go hunting with your father?" He replied, "All right, master," and began creating his magical circle. As soon as he saw the rabbit, Song attacked it with ice magic from his magical circle. The ice bullet hit the rabbit directly, and before it could react, it exploded in one shot. Seeing this, Sepia said, "Even though it's the same spell, the variations from mage to mage are truly very different." She explained this to Song, saying, "Do you know why this happens?" Song replied, "No, I don't know." She explained, "Magic is actually like a mirror of your mind. It brings out the lies hidden in your heart through mana. That's why magic is different for everyone. It's a landscape of your inner self." Song looked a little troubled hearing this. Then she said, "You know about the terms of a firewall, right? It's a mental image that solidifies imagination. It's like a stepping stone on a path. The magic taught in the towers works in the same way. For example, red tower magic represents strength, while blue magic tower values harmony. Each tower projects its forms in its own way using its magic. That's why every tower's nature reflects the foundation of its magic system. Besides red and blue, there's also Nari, white, and green magic towers." Song was slightly zoning out as she spoke. She said, "I think this topic is more than a zero for you. It's quite big, but the most basic form of necromancy is to raise a zombie, bringing it back to life." Song then tried to use necromancy to raise the rabbit to bring it back to life. It was like animation art where you control a corpse with mana strings, tying its head, knees, and spine with threads made of mana. After a short while, the rabbit stood up again. Seeing this, Sepia said, "You've done really well." Then she told him to move forward, and he replied, "All right." Using frozen armor, he cast another spell with his ice element onto the rabbit, covering its body with ice-made armor. Sepia watched this and said, "The way you executed frozen armor here. He was really decent, and his form was also very good." So she said, "Let's test its defense." Saying this, she created 3 sharp projectiles and launched them directly at the rabbit. The impact sent the rabbit flying quite far, but its armor only suffered minor damage. Still, it was completely fine. Seeing this, Song happily said, "Master, I managed to stop your bolts. It worked." Because of this, Sepia also congratulated him, saying, "You did an amazing job." Then she asked, "It looks like you want to say something. Do you want to speak?" Song, smiling happily, said, "Yes, absolutely. I want you to also teach me water attribute magic." Hearing this, Sepia smiled and said, "No." Song's heart sank like a stone. Shocked, he said, What? But what we just saw was only a basic form of water magic, right?" Sepia continued, "Yes, but to truly learn the water attribute, you need a very deep understanding. You also need to develop a high-level comprehension. At the beginning, most beginners, for them, even learning just one type of magic is extremely difficult. And if a person tries to use 2 completely different types of magic at the same time, we call that a dual mage. At your age, this is almost completely impossible. From the way I see it, it seems your ambitions. You should probably put them aside for now." Hearing this, Song felt the ground slip beneath his feet. Shocked, he said, "My ambitions." He remembered the things he had just shown Sepia. He thought, even after all this, it's still not enough. Then he said to her, "Master, didn't you say that we would figure out the path ahead together?" Seeing this, she was a little surprised and said, "I think we should end today's license here." That night he went to the library, taking out many books and saying, "There are so many things here I cannot do alone." but I can at least prove myself here so that they have no choice but to teach me. Saying this, he drew energy from Omnia and began studying. The next morning we see him repeatedly called by name because poor Song had fallen asleep while standing. Seeing him, Sepia asked, "Are you okay? It looks like you didn't sleep all night." He replied, "Yes, I was just doing a little something last night." Looking concerned, she said, "Don't push yourself too hard." "I understand, master," he said. Then after she arrived, he created an ice armor on a rabbit. Seeing this, she happily said, "You really mastered it so quickly." But the next moment cracks began to appear on the armor. Seeing this, Sepia was a little confused. Suddenly the armor shattered violently. It was an ice explosion magic spell. Seeing this, she was truly shocked because the armor on top had completely shattered. Song then approached and said, "But that wasn't all." The next moment the rabbit's body began to swell, and after a short while with a loud explosion it burst as well, releasing countless ice crystals from within. Seeing this, Sepia, frightened, quickly formed an armor in front of herself to protect from all of it. Witnessing all this, she was truly shocked and stunned, silently observing Song. He told her, "I combined both the cross explosion and the icel explosion, meaning water and dark attributes, into one. So can I count this as a dual mage now?" Sepia's eyes were still wide open. She said, "I've never seen an attack method like this before. You combined ice explosion with frozen armor and then cross explosion, which can cover a huge area. But it doesn't end here. The ice and bone fragments spread out completely like blades, just looking at it. It seems this method was created purely for killing, like someone who has thrown their entire life into the battlefield to create something like this. And what kind of form is this that's being shaped inside a child's mental image?" Turning to the back, Song saw a large eye that looked genuinely creepy. But the next moment he saw his uncle and became extremely excited and happy. His uncle greeted Song and Sepia. Song asked, "So, have you finished clearing the other dungeon and come back?" He replied that this time they had to eliminate a small group of monsters, so the back cavalry only had to do a little work. We are shown some soldiers known as the back cavalry, holding lenses fully covered in aura. This is the unrivaled cavalry of the Duke of Shashan, which includes their knight captain Sir Hemelt, one of the 7 sums on this continent. Song, smiling, said, "Uncle, you haven't forgotten the promise where you said you'd teach me suit techniques, right?" Thinking about learning shooting techniques from such a high-status person, he realized it was an incredible opportunity. Hemelt laughed and said, "Not at all." Song waved his hand, saying goodbye. "All right, I'll see you later, uncle." And as he left, he told the others that you should come back quickly because it's very cold here. After that they left, and Sepia said that we should also head back. That night Sepia sat with Alan and Alina and gave them all the reports. Seeing this, he was a bit confused about what exactly she was saying. Sepia explained that the master had already mastered the first circle of necromancy and water magic. But because Alina was sitting there, Alan asked her, "But what about our request for you to just teach him water magic?" She said, "Yes, I am teaching him water magic. But as a mentor, I also need to pay attention to what he actually wants to learn. As I told you before, the young master wants to learn other magic besides water magic." Alina said, "If Song himself wants to learn, then definitely teach him water magic." Hearing this, she said, "Absolutely, I will take great care of this as I have been doing." Then she was about to leave, but the Acharya paused and said to Alan, "Please forgive me from my heart because I broke your promise." Alina, a bit sad, said, "It's okay because our child is already extraordinary beyond zero. I can't believe he has become a dual mage at just 8 years old." Alan was a bit worried. She continued, "I think he will keep frightening me from time to time given his capabilities. Truly, he is our child." Alan said to her, "I want to teach Song necromancy." She was a little troubled and hesitant about this. He added, "I want to give him the strength so that he can take on the responsibilities of this land in the future. At the same time, I want a highly talented disciple as a mage and also to be a father so that my child can inherit my legacy. So Alina, please forgive me." Alina, a bit troubled, said that people really consider necromancy useless. They fear it, that's why it's called the magic of death. That's why she didn't want him to do such a thing, but if he wants to train him as a necromancer, then who could possibly ignore this? Fine, you can train him as a necromancer. After all, who can ignore those who prescribe necromancy? Saying this, she hugged Alan and added, "All right." Hearing this, he was astonished. Hugging her, he said, "All right, I understand, Alina. I swear I will make our child the strongest and the best." Song then said, "And from that day my special necromancer training had begun." His father said, "I am really disappointed in you." He silently stood before them. They said, "You are raising the dead without even knowing what exactly you are controlling." Seeing this, he was also a bit troubled. They had placed a rabbit in front of him, and Song said that my master has only taught me this much, so what can I do next? He explains about the magic workshop, which was built underground beneath the castle. As soon as I showed my father the basic necromancy my master taught me, he immediately pressed his tongue and brought me here. Angrily he said, "From now on, as long as I teach you necromancy, never even think about using these basic spells." Then he placed many books in front of me and said, "First, you must memorize all the bone and muscle structures of every life form." Song says that after memorizing every letter of all the books his father brought for him, it seemed that only doctors in my world read such professional books, but now it felt like my basic knowledge was complete. After that I was finally allowed to practice magic. He told Song, "Now let's begin our real classes." Song was extremely happy, but as he saw something in front of him he was very surprised. The body of a goblin lay there. Alan said, "It seems you are a bit tense." A necromancer with no training can make a zombie from a source master's corpse, but a skilled necromancer can turn an ordinary soldier into a death knight. Right now an ordinary undead soldier stands before you. Let's see how you can move it. Seeing this, Song started using his necromancy skills, pulling out his threads. He said, "This is very different from a rabbit, which was small and had fewer bones. Controlling a goblin is much harder because its body is so large, and I must bind it with my mana strings." But while doing this, the thread snapped, which frustrated him because the goblin began to fly from its position, and suddenly he lost control and it fell somewhere on the ground. Song, troubled, said, "It feels like I am trying to control a very complicated puppet. Was it a mistake to perform a post-mortem rigidity to enhance its defense? Its joints and muscles are completely stiff, so I cannot control it properly." Song struggled, wondering what to do next. At that moment Alan placed his hand on his shoulder and said, "It was a great idea to use post-mortem rigidity to increase the body's hardness. The side effect is that the corpse's movements are greatly reduced." Hearing this, Song was amazed. Alan then performed the demonstration. He used his necromancy, and the goblin corpse began moving very quickly. Song was surprised because its body was completely bound by strings, and now its ribs began protruding. He explained, "This is the ribcage necessary to protect the internal organs, but now there is absolutely no need for that." So he pushed them into his hands because there is no need to protect the organs of a dead corpse. From his hands his ribs began to protrude like claws, looking like a deadly weapon. After demonstrating this, Alan said, "First you need to understand your target's structure, after which you can modify it as needed." Song was shocked and amazed, saying, "This is the foundation of black magic." Song was extremely excited. He called his father and asked, "Please tell me, how can I develop the mindset of a necromancer?" Hearing this, his father smiled and said, "In truth, it has always been connected to death. That is why we need to understand that the weight of life is the path to the truth." Hearing this, Song remembered a day from his past when, as a hero on the battlefield, a man begged him, "Hero, please have mercy." He sat before Song with hands folded. But Song raised his sword, and as the man pleaded, "Please don't kill me," Song cut his mouth with his sword and ended him. Alan repeatedly called Song to pull him out of these memories, asking, "Are you okay?" Coming back to his senses, Song said, "Yes." His father, seeing him, said, "You don't seem in very good condition." Song steadied himself and replied, "No, I am completely fine, I am fully fine." Song's magical attributes continued to grow rapidly day by day. News that Alan was teaching him black magic spread throughout the empire, and the Duke had broken his promise. This caused a shockwave across the empire, and Song, being responsible for this, became the focus of intense security. Many imperial figures began to watch him mercilessly. Then we see Song practicing his short routines. He practiced shots with his uncle and did duel training with him. Weeks later we see the ducal training ground. Song attacks Helmut with his sword, but Helmut easily blocks each strike. He enjoyed how Song kept attacking continuously. Then Helmut spins his sword and delivers a shift move to Song. Surprised, Song quickly dodges backward. Helmut swings again, attacking Song, and the sword slips from Helmut's grip, falling far away. This meant Song had won against Helmut. Pleased, Helmut said, "Master, you are really impressive." Song, understanding this, replied, "No knight can drop their sword so easily. You are deliberately going easy on me, right?" Helmut said, "Absolutely not. I am using practical third-level techniques. Any ordinary person could be killed with a single blow." Meanwhile, Song's hands began hurting from the swordwork. Helmut added, "Your skills with the sword are excellent. It's unfortunate that you are an image and your hands are showing calluses from gripping tightly for so long. Also, a mage always has guards to protect them and a deflective magic. Do you really need all this effort?" Saying this, Helmut took a bandage and wrapped it around Song's hand. And he further says that you don't need to push yourself so much to the point that just learning swordsmanship could harm you. But Song says, "Absolutely not. I have a reason. It would be pathetic if the Duke's son just stood there hiding behind the guard's defensive magic. Don't you think? Besides, I got a personal retraining opportunity with one of the 7 swords of this continent. How can I let this chance slip away?" Hearing this, Helmut stayed silent for a moment. Then suddenly he burst into laughter, saying, "That was truly an amazing answer, and I have no greater wish than my son to be exactly like you." Hearing this, Song laughed and said, "If such a day really comes, I will truly gain so much presents from you." At that moment Helena arrived, seeing them both happy, saying, "You two seem really full of excitement." Both of them were a little confused seeing her. Song asked why she came, and she replied, "Because it's very cold here. I came to see my son working hard, and I also have some news to share with you." Song, confused, asked, "News?" She said, "Yes. Remember your last birthday? What present did you want then?" Song was puzzled. "What present? I don't recall much." Then he remembered that he wanted a little sister. Upon hearing this, his mom and dad both turned as red as tomatoes. As he remembered, his eyes widened. His mother happily said, "Now you must take good care of your little sister, all right?" Seeing this, Song got extremely excited and happy, saying, "Absolutely, I will take care of her." Time passed, and 10 months later we see them in a room holding a little girl. Song looked at her and said, "She is truly fascinating and so tiny. I still can't believe I have a little sister now. This is so adorable." He was extremely surprised looking at her. Helena said, why not hold her in your lap? Shocked, he asked, when? She laughed, why not, holding her isn't that difficult, and placed the little girl in Song's lap. Father said, I realized it's actually easier when I tried it myself. She asked, what are you thinking, doesn't she look just like you? Song saw her quietly sleeping in his lap and his mother felt very happy. Excitedly she said, see, when she was in your father's hands she cried loudly, but in your hands she hasn't made a sound. When the little sister started playing with him, they asked Song how it felt. He said, she feels light, like a father holding his child, yet surprisingly heavy. Father Alan smiled and said, this is the weight of life, never forget this. Then he said, I think your lesson time is over, Lady Scipia must be waiting for you. Scipia said, today we will have practicals. Song hesitated, asking, but can I really do it? She replied, don't hesitate, put all your strength into it and attack me. Song said, I understand, and created his magical circle, starting the attack. Scipia watched, thinking, so let's see how much he has actually improved. When Song attacks with his 2 ice blades, Scipia looks a little confused. She calmly dodges the attack and says, for any opening move this is far too slow. As he catches the second bullet, she says, look, my student is being unusually gentle on his master. Hearing this, Song got slightly worried. Then Scipia tells him, quickly create your barrier, and she throws the crystal directly at Song. He was extremely scared seeing this. When the crystal hits him, there's a massive explosion. Song says, if I hadn't blocked it I could have been seriously injured. He had covered his shoulder with ice armor. Scipia, seeing this, was very impressed that he cast ice armor at the right moment. She then says, well done, now try again. Song places his hand on the ground and begins using the molecular combination ice wall formula, creating a solid ice wall. Scipia looks slightly confused. Why is he creating an ice wall in the middle of a fight? He used the molecular bonus formula to increase the wall's density, making it as strong as steel. Confused, she touches the wall and wonders why he suddenly cast a defensive spell. It was to recover from her last attack. Then he starts using an explosive magic on his ice wall. As it charges, he shouts, explode! The ice wall suddenly glows intensely. Scipia is confused as the wall shatters rapidly, sending tiny fragments everywhere, making it look like small pieces of Scipia herself. After the attack ends, Song says, it worked. He had used his incantation to spread the shattered pieces further, almost like a grenade. The ice became stronger and compressed, making it extremely difficult for his master to avoid. As the smoke clears, he's shocked. His master's body appears to be broken into pieces. He panics, but then Scipia appears from behind and asks, did you call me? He comes forward saying, you scared me, maybe this is some kind of illusion. Scipia says, that was an incredibly impressive technique. I never thought a first circle could do something so powerful that it could harm a water magic elder. Song is slightly nervous and says, I didn't want to hurt you at all. She replies, yes I know, honestly because of the damage you caused me I'm quite happy. Song is a bit confused hearing this. She continues, I mean I can fully trust you to attack me with full strength. Isn't that right? And as a master this makes me even prouder. As a master nothing else gives me as much pride as this. Seeing this he asks, really? She says, absolutely. You are truly an amazing student, but how did such a spell formula even come to your mind? Song replies, it's because of my master who taught me this, which makes Scipia extremely happy. But the very next moment when she was in Alan's office she was seriously reporting everything to him. Hearing this, Scipia felt quite happy, but as she stood in Alan's office explaining everything her expression was extremely serious. Alan asks her, what happened to the mark on your cheek? She replies, I was a little careless. It happened while teaching the young master. His formulas are honestly far sharper than expected. Hearing this, Alan says worriedly, you truly owe me a huge debt. She responds, that's nonsense. Teaching a child this talented is an honor in itself and I genuinely enjoy it. Hearing that, Alan says, if that's the case then I have another request for you. Scipia replies, yes, please tell me. Alan says, within our territory's mountain range we've received a report that another orc group has been spotted. This isn't something that ordinary cavalry can handle. I was thinking of sending Song into this battle as well. Hearing this, Scipia is completely shocked. She says, but the young master isn't fully prepared for this yet. Alan replies, he won't be fighting on the front lines, however defending our territory is also part of household succession and since he is a duke's heir he must understand his responsibilities. Song is no exception, he also needs to learn these things. Seeing the seriousness in his energy, Scipia nervously asks, so what exactly do you want me to do? Alan replies, I want to give Song one of my artifacts and I want you to guide him there until he learns to properly control that power. Then we're told about artifacts, objects that contain immense power and even their own will. They can only be used by offering mana or sometimes one's life itself as payment. The stronger the artifact, the more dangerous it becomes to control, and sometimes it even costs people their lives. As they head toward the artifact vault, Alan tells him, the Succen house has mastered handling such powers for a very long time, and since you are a duke's heir you must be prepared for the battles ahead. Hearing this, Song excitedly says, battles? So I'll finally get to fight? Alan replies, yes, you'll also be joining the subjugation force that will eliminate the orcs. But before that I want you to properly learn how to control our family's power and darkness. As the door opens, countless artifacts appear before them. Song is surprised as the entire space is filled with artifacts. Alan tells him many of these are Demon King artifacts that we manage. They've been in our possession since our ancestors conquered the Demon King's domain. Never compare them to ordinary artifacts. Song replies, I can feel an intense mana being released from them. Alan says, exactly. They contain immense power that can be extremely dangerous, so until you learn proper control, don't touch any of them. But the next moment, he realizes his son has disappeared from his side. He wonders where the boy went, and we see Song standing aside while a claw circles behind him. As he walks around, he thinks, I need to find an artifact that suits me best. As Song continues walking, a shield speaks to him, have you found the ones you want revenge against? I can feel the hatred inside you. Come on, choose me, together we'll destroy them. No, choose me, pick me, don't be a coward, take me with you and together we'll reach new heights. Song thinks these dark artifacts are arguing with me just because of the faint resentment leaking from me. But this alone is nowhere near enough, I need something even more powerful than this. But then suddenly that same claw appears at his side and he says, what is this claw doing here? Looking at it, he says, wait a second, is this a shadow claw? He recalls that during the hero's era, there was a duke's son in the Demon King's army who had a top-grade artifact, and his ability allowed him to take the form of shadow, making him extremely difficult to face. So using the shadow claw, he says, let's try this once. But as soon as he equips it, both of them are shocked because the dark energy immediately begins to cover him. It says, I'm hungry, I'm extremely hungry, so let's begin. This is no ordinary shadow. The one who wore it before could unleash shadow storms and manipulate darkness as if it were a living thing. To fully control it, there is a host shadow creature inside that must be completely subdued. Strange shadows begin emerging from it and he thinks, I don't think this will yield so easily. Outside, we see the shadow domain where Song is trapped, which makes both of them extremely anxious. Scipia asks, how long will it take for this to end? I'm really worried. Alan says if it drags on, he could lose control of his sense and the shadow creature could completely devour him. Hearing this, Scipia panics and asks, so what should we do now? He replies, we must use our power to bring it under control and remove it. Suddenly there is a massive explosion and the shadow domain disappears. Both of them are slightly shocked to see Song standing there because he had fully subdued the shadow claw and completely controlled it. Scipia asks if he's fully okay and he replies, yes, I'm completely fine. She says, you really made me worry, and he replies, it was just a small thing. Meanwhile, his father is astonished that not a scratch has come to him and wonders how a child could control such a powerful artifact. Song turns to his father and, eyes shining with excitement, asks, can I try even more things here? Both of them are shocked and confused, but then he says, all right, and happily begins exploring the entire area once again. Then a few days later, we are shown the scene at the Duke's training ground where Hemelt, after seeing this, says in great shock, young lord, what you're wearing here, is that really the shadow cloak? Song laughs and replies, yes, you're absolutely right. But Hemelt says, handling this artifact is extremely difficult, so are you completely sure that you're truly fine? Song replies, it's just stinging a little, other than that everything is completely fine. Seeing this, Hemelt is shocked and says that things are really very strange. Song says, I think it had been lonely for a very long time, so the moment it saw me there it immediately grabbed me. I feel like it just wanted to be friends with me. After hearing this, even the shadow monster standing there becomes confused. Hemelt laughs and says, young lord, do you really think such a dangerous thing could feel loneliness? Truly, your pure heart is really amazing. But Song, stepping forward while placing his foot on the monster, says, thank you very much for thinking about me like this. Below, the way he was stepping on the shadow, that poor creature was being badly crushed under him. Then Song says to Hemelt that there is something he wants to ask him. Hemelt replies, tell me, what do you want to say? Song says, why don't we do a real duel here for combat training? Hearing this, Hemelt is shocked but excited, releasing his energy and saying, of course I have no problem with that, and I'll give my best so that you don't feel even a little disappointed. Seeing this, Song nervously thinks that making one of the 7 swords of the continent his sparring partner is a bit too much because the pressure he gives off is overwhelming. But Hemelt smiles and says, young lord, you don't need to worry too much. I'll only use basic swordsmanship without aura. Hearing this, Song angrily thinks that he is saying he will go easy on him. A true knight always fights with his heart, and the real purpose of this battle is that Song wants to master the shadow cloak properly. Using the energy of his cloak, he starts spreading his shadows everywhere, and thinks that he wants to see how he can turn these shadows into dangerous and powerful weapons, because the true value of an artifact lies in determination. Song commands the shadows and they all start moving toward Hemelt, and he says that to do this, training is very necessary, and using the Shadow Blade Brigade he attacks Hemelt. Seeing this, Hemelt attacks him with his sword and easily cuts all the tentacles with his blade. After seeing this, Song is slightly surprised and says that he cut them even without using aura. What a terrifying power, and excitedly says, you are truly excellent too, but now it's my turn to strike. Saying this, he quickly rushes toward him. Song uses his cloak to block the attack, and using shadows he slides backward and escapes. Hemelt is slightly shocked because in the next moment many spikes emerge from the shadows and he says, you can really think like this and launch an ambush attack on me, that's fascinating. When Hemelt turns again and swings his sword to attack Song, Song quickly brings all his tentacles forward, but because of this attack, huge cracks appear on them. Song has a lot of difficulty stopping it, but still, while sliding back he somehow manages to control the impact. Hemelt is extremely shocked and excited and says that he actually stopped it. The power in his strike was so strong that it could easily break an ordinary sword, just as one should expect from a top-tier artifact. Truly, this is something completely different. Because Song was still standing there completely unharmed, Hemelt happily said, "Then let's fight 10 more rounds." Saying this, the two of them started fighting again. Then we are told that after that day's training session, all the ordinary knights who had been watching had completely changed expressions. They said that no one could withstand more than 2 attacks in front of Captain Hemelt, but that was before Song arrived. Because of this, they started feeling truly strange since he was fighting their captain on equal footing, which made them feel extremely uneasy. Song himself was also a little confused seeing this. Then a few days later, we are shown a night scene when he was about to leave. His mother comes to him and says, "I talked to your father again. No matter how much I think about it, I really don't feel like I can send you to such a dangerous place." But Song says, "You don't need to worry so much because Uncle Hemelt and father will definitely be there to protect me." But a mother is still a mother. Worried, she says, "But what if something goes wrong there and you get hurt?" Hearing this, he becomes a little sad but says, "Mom, I need to become even stronger so that one day I can carry this ducal family, and when the time comes I can protect you, father, and my little sister Lisa. But for now I just need to gain more experience, so please allow me to do this so that I can become stronger and protect you." After hearing him speak like this, Alina can't say anything anymore and says, "All right, just take care of yourself, my son." Then he mounts his horse and says, "Okay, I'll return soon," after which they leave for their temporary base. Song and his father were fully prepared to depart, and Alan says to Song, "Go and give them the order to march in my place." Hearing this, Song is a little confused, and his father says, "The pride of our family, the Black Cavalry, will one day become your own force that you will have to command. That's why these people are your knights from the beginning." Hearing this, Song is shocked and says, "Not my father's knights but my knights, so this means this is truly my first battle." With confidence, he smiles and says, "Yes, this time is completely different," and tells all the members of the Black Cavalry that it's time to leave. "Let's prove the blade of our family, the House of Suxon." All of them cheer and say, "Young lord, we will follow your command," after which they quickly take their positions and move out. We hear the sound of horses' hooves, and it is explained that there are 250 cavalrymen in this battle who are joining their forces, and the elite ranger unit has been stationed on White Mountain. The Winter Wanderers and the orcs they had to eliminate numbered around 1,000, and for that they would have to cross the upper stream that flows through the Suxon River to escape the cold and hunger. But soon after that, they would definitely start advancing toward the downstream as well. Before that happens, they must plan and move toward the lower stream of the Suxon River so that they can launch a surprise attack on them. And here, there is only one way for these 250 people to quickly cross this deep river, and they look back with a smile. And there we see Sifia using her magic as she says, "Please everyone, move a little to the side. I will create an ice bridge here for you." As soon as Song sees her, he becomes very happy and he thinks that this must be very difficult for her, because according to the rules she follows there is no violence, and harmony is always spread everywhere, which is absolutely not going to happen in this battle, and yet she still came here. Using her ice magic, Sifia creates a very large and wide bridge of ice in an instant, so that they can cross the river from one side to the other. She says to Alan that she hopes they will definitely win. He replies, "All right, and thank you very much." After that, Song says to her, "All right then, teacher, I'm leaving too," and then he leaves from there. Seeing this, Sifia becomes a little confused, tears appear in her eyes, and she thinks how strange it feels that she has a disciple who worries so much about his master. Then we are shown the scene of the orcs' temporary base, where many tents are set up below the canyon. The ranger units, the Winter Watchers, are fully prepared to attack them, and using their bows they release flaming arrows into the sky which quickly hit the tents and start burning and destroying them. Because of this sudden attack, the orcs are extremely shocked and confused. Many of them are killed, while many others become furious. Seeing this, Hemelt orders everyone, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Cavalry, quickly get ready to fight. We have to form a charge formation. From above, the 3 of them are watching everything. Hemelt asks Song, "So tell me, young master, how does all this look to you?" After watching everything, Song starts calculating in his mind that when a horse has 2 legs touching the ground at a time and is running at a speed of 40 km per hour, and with the additional weight of the knight's armor, the acceleration becomes even stronger. If they attack like this, they can create a deep crater of 3 to 4 meters, and if this is combined with the knight's aura, then there is no way the orcs can stop them. Seeing this, he says to his father, "This is a completely one-sided battle. We are basically here just to slaughter them. The orcs can't do anything to us." Alan laughs and says, "Exactly, and this is the power of the ducal Suxon household cavalry." But Hemelt says that it is too early to lower their guard because this is only the beginning. When the orcs come with their shields and spears and start defending, they also become a little trouble. Hemelt explains that their ambush worked very well, but it is not enough to completely wipe them out. For now, they have to retreat, understand everything properly, and then charge again. So he sends a signal upward, and after seeing it, the cavalry understands that they have to retreat, so they turn their horses and start moving back. Seeing this, the orcs are very confused and shocked about what they are doing. But an ogre targets the knight who is at the very back and throws his spear directly at him, which hits his horse and kills it, causing the knight to fall and get injured. After seeing this, Song becomes a little confused, and Hemalt says that his luck is really bad. Hearing this, Song starts trembling with anger. His father says that they have suffered a casualty, and this makes him furious. He says, "What does this even mean? They already considered him dead," and continues, "One of our prideful swords is now lying openly in front of the enemies like this, and that man is lying there injured." When an ogre started advancing toward him with a sword, seeing this, he shouted at everyone, "Why are you all just standing here like this? Why aren't you doing anything?" But his father and uncle couldn't say anything. Seeing this, Song thought that if he went down and tried to bring him back on his horse, he would be too late, so he had to kill this ogre from this distance itself. But an ogre's head is much thicker and tougher than other monsters, so his existing formula wouldn't be very effective against it, because the ice bullet formulas he had created weren't that powerful. But if he mixed the bullet formula into it, maybe its sharpness would increase even more. And since the distance was so long, he should also mix the sniper rifle formula into it so that it could get support and the bullet could become perfectly balanced. After that, he aimed from there and combined all three formulas into one single formula. Just when the ogre was about to kill that boy, before that could happen, he fired his ice bullet straight at it, and it directly hit the ogre's head and completely shattered it in one shot. Seeing this, his father was shocked and his uncle was extremely astonished. They said that even from such a long distance, he had made such a direct and perfect shot. After that, Song started moving downward. Seeing this, Hemalt said, "Young master, where are you going?" But Alan stopped Hemalt and said, "Let him go." Seeing this, Hemalt was shocked and tried to stop him, but Alan smiled and said that at such a young age, he had created such amazing and unique formulas, and if this formula was truly so unique and had such deadly power, then it meant that Song's inner world had already matured far beyond his age. Moving forward, Song was getting a little worried seeing from a distance that the remaining ogres had regrouped. Right now, he was facing two problems. First, the man who was panicking still hadn't managed to stand up, and second, his unique formula took a lot of time to create, so it wasn't very effective in close combat. And that was exactly why people learn formulas. Just like a plus b and a minus b equals a 2 minus b2, the bracket formula a plus b and a minus b equals a 2 minus b2, in the same way he needed to shorten his own formulas too. For example, even Ice 98 Magnum still felt too long to him, but he still thought it would work. So he excitedly said, "Ice bullet," and as soon as he said it, a shot fired from his hand, moving toward the ogre and piercing its head in a single hit, killing it before it could do anything to that boy. Seeing this, the boy said in fear, "Young master, why are you doing all this for someone like me?" But Song said that he didn't need to worry at all because the House of Suxin never betrays a sword that has shown loyalty. But from behind, two orcs came running toward them. Seeing this, the boy said in panic, "Young master, run away quickly," as the orcs shouted loudly. But Song wasn't afraid at all. Using his shadow blades, he attacked them. They tried to block the attack with their swords, but the shadow swords collided with them and easily shattered their swords and killed them. Song smiled and said to his shadows, "You can eat them." Hearing this, one ogre became terrified because in front of him the shadows were brutally tearing apart and devouring another ogre. Then another shadow blade emerged and slit his throat as well, killing him too. Seeing his severed head, the other ogre became extremely terrified, and when he saw that only bones were left behind, he started sweating badly. Song said to him, "You still haven't run away," and then, using the ice bullet, he killed him as well. After that, he said that for now, this was good enough. But the boy said, "Young master, my legs aren't working at all." Seeing this, Song became very angry. Then he lifted him in his arms like a princess and said, "Come on, I'll take you with me." After that, he brought him into the cavalry and said, "Uncle Hemelt, please take good care of him now." And that boy was really blushing a lot, just like a princess. After that, Song left from there with him, and Hemelt told all his cavalry, "All right, now get ready to fight." He ordered them to attack, and they all happily and excitedly started attacking all the monsters. After some time inside the Suxin base, we learn that the mission to eliminate the ogres has been completed, and his father called Song to him. He said, "I have some questions for you regarding the subjugation, so I want to talk to you. Tell me, what was the real reason you ran alone toward the enemy like that? What were you even thinking when you did such a foolish thing?" Hearing this, Song felt a little scared and thought, "Why is he suddenly scolding me like this?" Then he continued, "So will you tell me why you entered the enemy territory alone like that?" Gathering some courage, Song said, "Yes, you said that one day I have to lead the Knights of the House of Suxin, so I was simply carrying out my mission." Hearing this, Alan smiled and said, "Your reason is actually quite stupid. Hearing that, Song felt a little confused, but Alan thought that he knew very well how to charge his knights and his father, and that was why he acted like that. Song then said, "May I ask you something? How can you just stand there and watch your knight die?" His father explained that the northern front line of the House of Suxin actually borders the Demon King's territory, a place that constantly endures monsters, and a knight who fights on the front line never draws his sword with the hope that someone will come to save him. Song replied, "But still, I only saved the life of one knight who was loyal to you." His father said, "Yes, as you say, you meant that. But do you really think that if they can't survive on the battlefield they will truly rely on you? You are forcing them to believe that whenever such a time comes, someone will definitely come back to save them." Hearing this, Song became deeply shaken. His father continued, "How many knights do you think can survive with this kind of mindset?" Because of this, Song had no answer and couldn't say anything. Then his father said that when they face a danger beyond their abilities, only then he might step in to stop that threat, and that is the duty of a noble that the House of Suxin must bear. Song became sad. He thought that he was arguing for something he himself couldn't deny. He couldn't believe that he had forgotten something he had remembered throughout his past life and had always lived up to. But Alan placed his hand on his shoulder and said that the way he turned his words into actions was truly impressive, and he should never forget that. Song replied, "All right, father." Then a bright light fell on his face as the tent door opened, and his father said, "Come on, let's return to the castle." After they returned, the story of the Duke's son became famous everywhere, that he was ready to fight many ogres just to save a knight. It became amazing gossip material for the Empire. People said that the number of ogres the young master had killed was more than 1,000. In that story, some parts were true, but some things were exaggerated due to excitement, and it spread across the Empire like wildfire. When the young master heard about it, he felt extremely embarrassed. This event stirred many hidden currents, and a few days later when we see the Duke Knight's training ground. Everyone there greets the young master respectfully and bows in front of him. He was really feeling extremely embarrassed after seeing all this, and everyone there showed him respect and said, "Sir, you are most welcome here." Because of all this, poor Song's cheeks turned red like tomatoes, and he said to them, "You really don't need to do this." Hemel also cheered him and said, "For your future we must become even stronger, and we are fully ready to obey your command." Saying this, they kept cheering Song again and again. Seeing this, he thought that these people were filled with a bit too much passion. Then a servant came and told Song that it was time. The guests from the House of Oral Heart were about to arrive. Hearing this, he said, "Thank you very much, Evie." Song thought that he should go and greet the special guests who were about to arrive. Then he explains about the warrior house, the Old Heart, which was once one of the greatest noble families in this kingdom. From that house, a divine swordsman had emerged. But when the Empire started a war against him in the Teutonio field, the divine swordsman was killed by his hands, and after that his family was completely destroyed. Song was standing in front of the gate and looking at Herbert, thought that there was a strange expression on his face. He must be thinking about the divine swordsman, the man who put him on the path of knighthood. Because of that, Song felt a little bad. Thinking this, when both doors opened and they entered inside, Alan looked at them happily and said, "You both arrived at the right time, it seems you were still training." Song replied, "You're absolutely right." Just then the butler's voice was heard saying that the guests had arrived. Alan said, "All right, let them in." A few moments later we see a golden-haired girl and her mother entering inside. There was deep sadness in her eyes. Song thought that even without any attendants they had come this far. It was impressive. The divine swordsman's wife Vanessa greeted Alan and his wife. Then she looked at her daughter, who was very angry, yet still greeted them, and introduced her daughter Charlotte. But because of this, Charlotte became very angry. Seeing this, Song said in confusion, "What kind of reaction is this?" Moving forward, Charlotte said, "How can you bow your head in front of someone like him?" Hearing this, Vanessa was shocked and said, "Please calm down, what are you even saying?" Alan tried to calm her and said that they had just completed a long and tiring journey. Then he said to Song, "You will escort Lady Alyssa. Can you show her around the castle?" Song replied, "All right." After that, he said to Charlotte, "Please come with me." But seeing this, Charlotte got extremely angry and said, "Keep your hand away from me, don't you dare touch me." Saying this, she shook his hand away. After seeing her reaction, Song felt very confused and surprised. Even her parents were shocked and stunned. Then Charlotte felt as if she had made a huge mistake, so she became silent and said, "You useless, shameless, typical nobles." Hearing this, Song couldn't understand anything. Seeing this, Vanessa became even more nervous and said, "Char, what are you doing?" Quickly apologized to the young master. But Charlotte just pouted, pressed her lips with her teeth, and quickly ran away from there. Song tried to stop her, and then he also followed her outside. On the other side, Vanessa kept apologizing to them for her daughter's mistake, and explained that she was acting like this because something very bad had happened recently. Alina asked in confusion what had actually happened. Vanessa started explaining that not long ago, the Holy Knight Count had been appointed as an inspector in their territory. As everyone knows, that count is very famous in the Empire. Because he is a holy swordsman and is searching for a supreme talent as his heir, his greed for skills. If you want, I can continue translating the next part in the same style and without extra spaces like your script format. After seeing this, Song was truly feeling extremely embarrassed, and the people there respectfully welcomed him, saying, "Sir, you are most welcome here." Because of all this, poor Song's cheeks turned red like tomatoes, and he said to them that there was really no need for them to act like this. Meanwhile, Hemel also cheered him and said that for his future they needed to become even stronger, and that they were fully ready to obey his commands. And saying this, they kept cheering Song again and again. Seeing this, he thought that these people really had an unusual amount of passion inside them. Just then, a servant came and told Song that the guests from the House of Old Heart were about to arrive. Hearing this, he thanked her and thought that he should go to greet the special guests who were about to arrive soon. Then he told us about the warrior house Old Heart, which was once one of the greatest noble families in the kingdom, from which a divine swordsman had emerged. But when the Empire started a war against them in the Teutonio field, the divine swordsman was killed by his own hands, and after that his family was completely destroyed. Song was standing in front of the gate, and seeing Habert, he thought that there was a strange look on his face and that he must be thinking about the divine swordsman, the person who had led him to the path of knighthood, and because of this he felt a little bad. Thinking this, as they opened the doors and entered inside, Ellen became very happy on seeing them and said that they had arrived at the right time and that it seemed they were still busy training. Song replied that he was absolutely right. Just then the butler announced that the guests had arrived, and Ellen told him to let them in. Soon we saw a golden-haired girl and her mother entering with deep sadness in their eyes. Song thought that it was impressive that they had arrived here without any attendant. The divine swordsman's wife Vanessa greeted Ellen and his wife, and then she looked at her daughter who was extremely angry but still greeted everyone and introduced her daughter Charlotte. Because of this, Charlotte became even more angry. Seeing this, Song felt confused and wondered what kind of reaction she was showing. Charlotte then said that how could she bow her head in front of such a person. Hearing this, Vanessa was shocked and asked her to calm down, questioning what she was saying. Ellen tried to calm her and said that they must be tired after a long journey, and then asked Song to escort Lady Alyssa and show her the castle. Song agreed and asked Charlotte to come with him, but she angrily told him to keep his hand away and not to dare touch her, and saying this, she shook his hand off. Song was confused and surprised by her reaction, and even her parents were shocked. Charlotte then realized that she had made a big mistake, became silent, and called him a shameless typical noble. Song couldn't understand anything, while Vanessa nervously scolded Charlotte and told her to apologize to the young master, but Charlotte just made a face and ran away. Song tried to stop her and followed her outside, while Vanessa apologized to Ellen and his wife, explaining that Charlotte was acting like this because something terrible had recently happened. Ellen asked what had actually happened, and Vanessa explained that recently the Holy Knight Count had been appointed as an inspector in their territory, and as everyone knew, he was famous in the Empire and a holy swordsman who was searching for supreme talent. His greed for skills had grown so much that whenever he found a powerful swordswoman, he tried to forcefully plant his seed in her, without caring even if she was just a small girl who didn't understand such things. They barely managed to escape before he could touch her, but erasing those memories was impossible, and Vanessa said she was ready to do anything to protect her daughter. That's why she brought her here and begged them to keep her daughter in their family even as a maid so that that man would never dare to touch her again. On the other side, Song and Charlotte had run into the training ground, where Song asked her if she even knew where she was running. She said she had no idea, and Song wondered why she had come to the training ground instead of anywhere else, maybe because she had a knight's blood inside her. After a while Charlotte asked if his hand was okay, and Song replied that it was completely fine and that she didn't need to worry. Hearing this, she felt relieved. Song thought that it seemed like she had been crying earlier and that no matter how tough she acted, she was still just a little girl. The next moment, Charlotte pulled out her sword and placed it on Song's neck, challenging him to a duel. Song was confused and she told him to draw his sword quickly. Song wondered why she was doing whatever she wanted and said he needed a reason. She said she had heard rumors that he was an extremely dangerous and incredible person who had killed more than 1,000 ogres alone during a fallen night. Song denied it, but Charlotte said that if she defeated him, it would prove that no one in the Empire could face her, and she would show the world how strong she was and prove that she could protect her family. Song asked who she meant, and she answered the sword master Count Brandenburg. Hearing this name, Song was shocked and thought about the Emperor's bastard who had stabbed him in the back, and just hearing his name made his blood boil. Since their goals were the same, he thought it would be a good idea to make her his ally, but first he needed to show her reality. Song turned around and Charlotte was confused as he told her that she was just a child who knew nothing, and told her to attack him with full power. Charlotte got angry, released her aura and attacked him, but Song easily blocked her attack with one hand. She kept attacking repeatedly, but Song calmly dodged and blocked every attack while moving back, and none of her attacks could touch him. Charlotte angrily kept using thrust attacks, but Song easily blocked them and soon he started feeling bored. He thought that no matter how many times he deflected her attacks, she kept countering them using her hands again and again, and the bigger surprise was that she could even use a light aura. But using such a rapier that was too big for her body and generating circles inside her heart like a mage was something truly unusual. A knight can cross his limits here if he releases the aura from inside his body, and in between all this, Char spins around and comes at him again to attack. But he calmly blocks her attack with his sword and then pushes her back. At the same time, he thinks that just as I thought, blood never lies. Char again straightens her sword and uses a thrust toward him. So Song also becomes a little surprised after seeing this because with great difficulty he was able to block this attack here. And Charlotte keeps attacking him continuously, and says that if he can only do this much here then I am still in the upper hand because before I was born my father had already been finished there. But every night my mother used to tell me his story. She said that because he is not here, I as a proud daughter of the divine swordsman should protect my family, and my sword never knew where it should stop. Even after that my homeland was completely destroyed, and my family was completely ruined. And she says in a very troubled and confused way, but how is it possible that every time I come in front of this person my attacks keep getting blocked? Song is now getting very bored because he is easily able to block her remaining attacks here. And seeing this, Charlotte says in confusion that there must definitely be something wrong here. And then when Charlotte uses all her power and uses her skill thrust, Song calmly moves aside there and again blocks her attack very easily. And seeing this, she becomes even more surprised than before. When he slightly moves his hand here, Charlotte's sword slips from her hand this time, and she thinks that how can I be the daughter of a divine swordsman? Why am I not winning here? Song says because you are not a divine swordsman, and tears come into her eyes, and he says that of course the pride that you have because you are the daughter of a divine swordsman is not bad at all. But apart from all this, the way you are right now, you will never be able to protect your family like this. As soon as she hears this, the tears in her eyes start flowing even faster, and he further says that because the sword of a source master is thousands of times more powerful than this, and as powerful as I am, it is far more powerful than me. And so Char says in distress, tell me what should I do here, what should I do here? So Song says alright, I swear in the name of the ducal family here that I will become a guardian of your family. After hearing this, Char looks at him with a little confusion. He says that until the day you become so powerful that you can defeat him here, I and the Saxon family will remain your shield and protect you. Char was confused. She says in surprise, why are you doing this? So he says because your swordsmanship truly has the worth of this thing. And do you swear this that you will become a sword of me and the Saxon family? After thinking about this for a while, Charlotte says that there is no question that I can refuse such an offer here. And she sits in front of him there, and as a knight swears that she will become his sword. And the narrator tells us further that even though it looks like just a simple promise between two small children, the emotions inside it are worth more than any oath. Then we see Song with Ellen inside his office. Ellen says that Vanessa had requested here that Charlotte should become a servant of our family, that is, a handmaiden, but I did not think that Vanessa had already agreed to this thing. So what exactly happened here between you two children? So Song tells him that I made a promise to her here that I swear in the name of the ducal family of Saxon that I will protect her family. As soon as he hears this, Ellen becomes a little angry, and he tells him that I am completely sure that you would not have invoked the name of the ducal family here like this because you were just feeling pity for her condition. So hearing this, he tells him that, Father, it is not like that at all. Ellen says, so tell me, what will you actually gain from this? He explains that because of this, the divine swordsman's sole bloodline will remain only within our family, and her talent is truly extraordinary, and I have also taken a promise from her that Miss Charlotte will always remain completely faithful to me. And what I have gained from this is that the only sword of the divine swordsman will remain solely within the ducal family. After hearing this, Ellen also becomes a little surprised and says with a smile that this is quite good. And Song says to himself that for now she is the only one who possesses the divine swordsman's bloodline, and I think this will be a truly powerful blow against Brandenburg. On the other side, we see a scene of Captain Trutonia, where loud screams are coming from inside that castle. We see shattered glass and Brandenburg shouts angrily, how did they even dare to take the first step here? The man in front of him apologizes, and Brandenburg yells furiously, you idiots and bastards, what were you even doing there? You people failed to even capture a small child. The man explains that we sent assassins, but it seems they were killed before reaching the Saxon state, and now I think that Charlotte is staying inside that state. After hearing this, Brandenburg becomes extremely angry. He thinks that all of them are completely useless, not even one of them is capable of doing anything. He goes to his sword, caresses it, and while remembering the day he killed Song, he says, this is absolutely not wrong, I was right, my holy sword. And licking his sword like a madman, he says, my beloved Fiona, please wait a little longer, I am coming for you, and it doesn't matter what I have to do here, but I will succeed in creating a perfect bloodline for you so that she can lift you. He tells his man to go and inform the Thief Guild and also send someone to the Duke. I am ready to pay any price, even if I have to give more than 1,000 gold coins. Bring her Charlotte to me. In this way, 1 week passed since Charlotte took that oath, and after that time, ever since she left the Duke's castle, things became very different for Dutonia. Now she had to stay inside and train properly because she was a lady in waiting. And besides that, sparring once with Song became a daily part of her routine. Hemalt judges both of them here and asks, "Are you both ready for this?" Song says absolutely, and she also says, "Yes, I am ready too." Hemalt says, "If that's the case, then let's start this." And in the next moment, both of them begin clashing their swords. Song was enjoying this a lot here. Charlotte attacks him using her clash, but this thrust doesn't work on him at all, and Charlotte keeps trying to attack him repeatedly, but he jumps back and dodges every single attack of hers. Charlotte gets angry because of this, but now she also starts understanding Song's attacks, and watching both of them fighting like this, where Charlotte had to struggle a little, Hemalt feels confused. Is this really a duel between two children? Even though they haven't reached a knight's level yet, I can still feel a terrifying killing intent coming from them, which is increasing with time. On the other side, Song uses his coat and tries to launch an ambush attack on her. Seeing this, Char gets a little confused, but in the next moment she understands it and attacks him with her sword, but at the right time. Hemalt steps in between and stops both of their swords because this could have caused trouble for Song. So he tells her, "You did an amazing job here, truly Charlotte, this was excellent." But she says to Hemalt, "Keep your empty compliments to yourself, tell me instead, what am I lacking?" Hemalt asks her, "Do you know about the Ripper core and how it is actually used?" "So do you mean using thrusting?" she asks. Hemalt replies, "No, actually the core is your 2 legs. In other words, it's the footwork you use here." Young Master Song was constantly closing the distance and blocking your thrusts. At a moment like this, you also need to create distance and look for another opportunity. Because with the Ripper, the more you bend and extend your arms, the more power you can apply. Otherwise, the sword will work like a wave and you won't be able to use the thrust properly. Hemalt continues, "It seems you need to rebuild your fundamentals." Hearing this, Charlotte angrily asks, "What did you say?" He says, "I noticed earlier that your stance and footwork are really sloppy, completely wrong." She pouts and says, "That's because I never had a proper teacher to guide me." Hemalt says, "But now I'm here, so I think I can handle your weak thrusts properly." She asks, "Weak thrusts?" Hearing this, he starts laughing and Song tells her, "Please calm down a bit." Hemalt says, "I was just teasing you a little because you're really cute." She feels a little embarrassed, tears forming in her eyes. Song thinks, "I'm amazed to see how quickly her power is growing thanks to Sir Hemalt's teachings. She is one of the 7 swords of the continent. So now I feel I need to work even harder if I don't want Charlotte to surpass me." Then we're told about the process of making a mana circle. It's mostly the same. You need to feel the mana flow within you, syncing it with your heartbeat until you establish a complete mana circle. Then you can imprint a mana circle close to your heart, but the biggest difficulty is that it takes many years to create. Later, he tells Sibia about this. Shocked, she asks, "Have you really reached the 2nd circle?" He says, "Yes, I have." The speed of mana which forms the mana circle is measured in RPM. Most first circles have 300 rotations per minute. My current RPM for the first circle is actually 2000, and for the 2nd circle you need 400. If I want to extend a new circle, I need at least 300 more RPM. This means I have already fulfilled the 3rd circle requirements. Now, having reached the 2nd circle, should I try some experiments? Thinking carefully, he decides to enhance his previously made ice bullet. He increases its weight and hardness, making it even more powerful. Then, placing it on a tree, he shoots it with his new formula. It hits the tree directly, completely destroying it, leaving a huge, terrifying crater. Song, astonished, says, "What is this? Was it really always this easy that I could make such a huge hole with a bullet?" Now it seems that reaching from the 1st circle to the 2nd circle has amplified the effect even more. Sibia happy says, "Just as I thought, you really are a fast learner." He thanks his teacher, saying, "All of this happened only because of you." She replies, "The news about saving a knight's life from the ogres or the story connected to lead Charlotte, a child who understands things very well, so tell me, what will you get from this?" He explains that because of this, the divine swordsman's solo bloodline will remain solely within our family. Its talent is truly amazing, and I also made her promise that Miss Charlotte will always remain completely faithful to me. What I gain from this is that the divine swordsman's only sword will remain with the Duke family. Hearing this, Alan was a little surprised and smiled, saying, "That's really good." Song thought to himself, "For now, she's the only one with the divine swordsman's bloodline, and I think this will be a huge blow against Brandenburg." Meanwhile, we see Captain Trutonia's scene. Loud shouting comes from inside the castle. A glass breaks and Brandenburg shouts angrily, "How did they even have the courage to step here first?" The man in front of him apologizes, but Brandenburg yells, "You fools, what were you even doing? You failed to capture a single child." The man explains that they had sent assassins, but it seems they were killed before even reaching the succession state. Now Brandenburg realizes that Charlotte is residing in that state. He becomes furious, thinking that all these people are utterly useless. Not a single one can do anything properly. He caresses his sword, remembering the day he killed Song, saying, "That day it wasn't right, I was correct, my holy sword." Madly licking his sword, he says, "My dear Fiona, please wait a little longer, I'm coming for you." It doesn't matter what I must do, I will succeed in creating a perfect bloodline for you so that it can raise you. Then he orders his men to contact the Thief Guild and send someone to the Duke to bring Charlotte to him, no matter the cost, even if it requires over 1,000 gold coins. A week passes since Charlotte took her oath, and since then, having left the Duke's castle list, things are quite different for Teutonia. She must now stay inside and train properly because she is a lady-in-waiting. Additionally, sparring with Song has become a daily part of her routine. Hemelt judges them both, asking if they are ready. Song confirms and she says she's ready too. Hemelt says, then let's begin. Immediately, they clash swords and Song enjoys it immensely. Charlotte attacks using her clash, but Song jumps back and dodges each attack. Charlotte gets frustrated but begins to understand Song's attacks. Both struggle slightly as they fight, while Hemelt is amazed that this is truly a duel between two children. Even though they haven't reached a knight's level yet, he can feel their terrifying killing intent growing with time. Song attempts an ambush using his coat and Charlotte, slightly confused, reacts and attacks him with her sword. Hemelt intervenes just in time to stop their swords from clashing too dangerously. He praises Charlotte, saying she did an excellent job, and she tells Hemelt to keep his compliments to himself and asks what she's lacking. Hemelt asks if she knows about the Ripper's core and how it's used. She asks, do you mean using thrusting? Hemelt replies, no, the core is your two legs, or in other words, your footwork. Young Master Song kept closing distance and blocking your thrusts. You need to create distance and look for another opportunity. The more you bend and extend your arms, the more power you can apply, otherwise the sword will act like a wave and you won't be able to use thrust properly. You need to rebuild your fundamentals. Charlotte, annoyed, says, what did you say? He explains, I noticed your stance and footwork are sloppy. She pouts, that's because I never had a proper teacher. Hemelt says, but now I'm here and I can manage your weak thrusts properly. She laughs and Song tells her to calm down. Hemelt teases her because she's cute, making her blush with tears forming in her eyes. Song thinks her growth is amazing thanks to Sir Hemelt's teachings. She's one of the 7 swords of the continent. I need to work harder so she doesn't surpass me. He then learns about mana circle creation. It must sync with your heartbeat. Imprinting one takes years. Sibia asks in shock if he reached the second circle and he confirms. Mana speed is measured in RPM. First circles are 300 RPM, second requires 400, and extending a new circle needs even more. He enhances his ice bullet, increases its weight and hardness, shoots it at a tree, and it creates a huge, terrifying crater. Song marvels at the effect, realizing moving from first to second circle amplified it greatly. Sibia praises him as a fast learner and he thanks his teacher. This is followed by the story of understanding a child's potential, how they know how to use their power. Sibia hugs Song and calls him a proud student. Song, slightly embarrassed, wonders if she's always been casual with physical contact but decides to focus on practice. He uses another spell, Ice Wall, creating a bigger barrier with spikes, then fires an ice bullet like a shotgun, destroying multiple ice balls while defending himself. He considers trying this in a slacking exercise. Charlotte arrives, perched on a tree, and says she's practicing steps Hemelt taught her. Song notes she seems to enjoy learning swordplay, making her blush. She apologizes for previously acting selfish and Song teases her, saying she wasn't rude initially. He forgives her and Charlotte is overjoyed. They stand under a tree. She enjoys the weather, which calms her during nighttime practice. Song notices she shares his way of thinking and feels happy. Meanwhile, they hear others' voices, reflecting on how quickly time passes. Alina and Alan discuss whether the two children could become a good couple, and Alina smiles, saying they'll know soon. Alan thinks a mother's duty is to guide her son to understand his feelings correctly. Later, we see Alina giving food and clothes to beggars who bless her happily. Song is pleased observing her. Many beggars and poor people live there. Her mother regularly provides for them and arranges jobs. Charlotte and Song also join her in helping this year. Charlotte comforts a boy whose mother is in danger, showing her compassion. And he says to her, please, big sister, help me. There were tears in his eyes and Saug, following him, says, something's definitely wrong here. The three of them were moving deeper into the back alleys, far from the escort knights, getting trapped in the extremely complex paths of the alleys. This was strange from the start because instead of going to a superior, he went straight to the four lords seeking help. While running, his attention suddenly goes upward and he sees a man sitting on a roof. He thinks, this child, he must be from the Thief Guild. Brandenburg must have sent them, just as I suspected. They're here to target Charlotte. The boy, a little panicked, says, stop here, I'll quickly bring my mom, and leaves the other two behind. Then the Thief Guild members begin to emerge one by one. Their boss says, if you think about it, a noble standing in such a dangerous place, this is actually impressive. Charlotte sees that many Thief Guild members have surrounded them from all sides. The man casually says, our job is just with a little maid standing by your side. Hand her over quickly. Young master, you may leave. Trying to interfere may get you hurt. Hearing this, Song laughs and says, I will definitely protect Charlotte from scoundrels like you. The green-clad boy smiles and says, look at this young noble's charisma, magnificent, but maybe you should have considered time and GK more carefully. You need to know a bit about the harshness of the world. Saying this, his men surround the two children. Charlotte, shocked and scared, says, "You can leave your sword behind and go." He replies, "No problem, do I look scared to you?" He thinks, "Perfect timing to test my new Shadow Claw skills while defending myself." The Thief Guild members advance to attack them. Four of them move from all sides trying to kill both, but suddenly shadows begin to cover them all. They were confused, wondering what was happening. Saug, standing there with his arms crossed, smiles calmly. Seeing this, their boss panics and shouts to his men, "Get out of the way, you fools!" Saug thinks, "They understood this way too quickly, must be a high-ranking thief." Because of this, three of the four run away to save themselves, barely escaping. One unlucky man isn't so fortunate. Shadows surround him, and in the next moment blood spreads everywhere. Song explains that ever since reaching the second circle, he has discovered some new Shadow Claw skills. He can create a shadow creature like a parasite which generates an undead soldier that can move autonomously. The shadow enters the man's body directly through his mouth. Seeing this, the Thief Guild boss and all his men panic because the shadows fully envelop the man and start transforming him. Shocked, they ask, What is this?" Now one of their allies has become an undead zombie looking extremely terrifying and dangerous. Seeing this, the green-clad boy yells at his companions, "What are you doing? Go and eliminate it immediately." Hearing this, all the Thief Guild members rush forward to attack the undead zombie. And at the same time, he thinks that now it doesn't matter at all whether this is the young master of Saxon or not. If we make even a single mistake here, we will all die. Because of this, he moves forward and starts circling around Song, his speed so immense that multiple afterimages of him were moving all around. He thinks, "There's no one in this back alley who can stop my two oracles at the same time." Saying this, he attacks Song. But Song, completely relaxed, doesn't even look at him and uses his shadows to stop him. Seeing this, the man is utterly shocked and terrified. When he tries to flee, Song uses one of his formulas, firing a shotgun-style attack with multiple powerful strikes. Huge craters form all over the man's body and he is killed in one blow. Charlotte, witnessing this, is genuinely stunned. The man falls to his knees in front of Song, and the undead zombie had already killed all his remaining companions. Song is slightly confused seeing that the man is still alive. He thinks one shot shouldn't have left him standing. As expected from his aura, he spread his aura all over his body. The man dying says, "No, this isn't over yet." He moves forward and shouts in shock, "Die." In the next moment, multiple blades emerge from the shadows, slicing him into two pieces and finishing him off completely. Song then moves toward the undead zombie that had killed its companions. He begins devouring it, saying, "I'm hungry, very hungry." Afterwards, Asu approaches Charlotte, asking if she's hurt. She, lying on the ground, replies, "No, I'm fine." However, one of their companions had survived. Seeing all his comrades dead, he panics and tries to flee in terror. But seeing this, Song uses his ice bullet to directly break the man's leg, causing him to collapse to the ground in pain. Crying, he pleads, "Please save me, save me." At that moment, Sog tells him through the shadows, "All right, come back now." And saying this, she leaves the man's body like a parasite and returns to Song. The way she moved out like that made Charlotte a little scared. Sog then says to the man, "Now tell me everything you know." He replies, "Yes, I will tell you everything." But in the next moment, a huge hole appears in his head. Sog continues, "Honestly, I have zero interest in knowing this." After seeing the corpses, Charlotte was extremely shaken, looking around anxiously. Seeing this, Song says to her, "What you're seeing is correct. This is the true face of the Success Duke, what people fear the most. And this is also the power of the Duke that protects people like you. So tell me, how do you feel seeing this? Since it's your first time witnessing it directly, are you scared?" Charlotte hesitates slightly but replies, "Yes, a little, but still it's fine because the fight you fought here was to protect me." She continues, "The day I swore my oath in front of you and bowed before you, your family truly protected my family. In the future I will repay this debt by picking up my sword for you. Thank you for showing me this future. Now I will become even stronger." Hearing this, Sog is a little confused. Then a glow appears on his face as he thinks about Charlotte and recalls that day from his past. He says, "Speaking to Charlotte like this, creating a bond, I really feel guilty for her father. I still feel that because of me her father had to lift his hand from her head." So, extending his hand forward, he calls Charlotte toward him and thinks, "I want this to be my sword." Seeing this, she smiles and extends her hand forward as well. The narrator adds that this truly has a deep and significant meaning, something Song can't even fully grasp yet. On the other side, the scene shifts to Brandon's Count state where he is furious after seeing the face of his fallen comrade. His frustration is evident on his face. At the same time, he receives a letter that reads, "We knew this journey would be difficult, but we want to invite you here, Count, to the Success Duke's castle. Please consider this our sincere invitation. Do not refuse. You are being summoned here by the Black Duke." so that you can come here and take responsibility for this incident. Because of this, Brandon was extremely angry and troubled, and it is said that even at the Imperial Sword Saint's place there was no other choice left. A few days later, we see a scene inside the Duke's castle. The three of them were seated there, and Brandon stood in front of them with his men, looking slightly nervous and worried. Ellen smiled and said that she did not expect him to arrive here so quickly, and asked him to forgive them for not being able to welcome him properly. But Biden composed himself and said that what could be more important than this if the Duke summoned him, and looking at Charlotte, he said that this girl sitting here. Brandon continued, saying that a serious incident had occurred in their state. In the Empire, he had discussed that during the day someone had tried to kidnap Charlotte. Therefore, he thought he understood why he was called here. But as a loyal sword of the Emperor, how could it be assumed that he would get involved in such a pointless matter? Upon hearing this, Ellen used her necromancy on the nearby enemies, saving them with her holy power. But the others, seeing the dark, intense winds so black and deep, started burning as the winds struck, and soon they were reduced to ashes, screaming in pain, begging, "Please, Count, save us, protect us." Biden was shocked, thinking that his holy order's Malian knights had perished so easily without restriction, and this magic was clearly high-level dark magic, the toppler of the sense. He then shouted at Ellen, who stopped him, telling him to get on his knees. Ellen yelled at him, asking if he knew what he was doing. The Duke calmly replied, asking if he had not heard him just now and that he would not repeat it. This made Brandon furious, grinding his teeth, feeling like he could do nothing in front of the omnipotent being that Ellen appeared to be. He realized that the Black Duke had really taken things far, and in this shock he went down on his knees. Ellen then said that he had been called to maintain peace, giving him a warning. If he ever laid a hand on any Saxon child again, she would completely annihilate every member of his family, including the children. She was confident that he would take this seriously. Hearing this, Brandon was extremely frightened. Ellen then told him that if he was tired from his journey, he should go rest. Brandon, angry yet scared, said that he was grateful for her generosity. Given the current conditions, he thought that he probably wouldn't be able to stay much longer in their domain. Saying this, he began to leave, and Ellen said, "If that's the case, fine, just return safely." Song, watching him, thought that Brandon the Counter was one of the Emperor's most loyal followers, but the confidence that my father showed in front of him would shake the Emperor's factions significantly. This could be a huge shock capable of destabilizing the entire empire. At first, it would be like a small spark, gradually enough to burn the whole place, and no one could withstand its flames for long. At that time, it would be my role to behead Sod Saint Blender. Around that time, news spread that Sod Saint had gone down on his knees before the Black Duke. We are then shown a scene in the Duke's office where an object was covered. Ellen removes the cover for Scipia, revealing what's beneath it. She was utterly shocked at the sight because there were numerous corpses lying there. Seeing this, she was extremely surprised, and Ellen explained that these were the bodies of those who had attacked Song, and only Song was entirely responsible for this. Hearing this, Scipia was terrified because the corpses showed extreme intensity. Some were completely dismembered with several holes in their bodies. She paused for a moment, wondering if she was teaching something wrong here. Ellen told her, "As you can see, we must guide Song properly according to his talent. Therefore, Lady Scipia, I want your wisdom here, and I am offering you the position of chief advisor." Confused, Scipia asked what this meant. Ellen replied, "Yes, it means that we are not just making him a small follower here. Instead, we are giving him a chance to become a member of the Saxon family." Ellen continued, "Guiding Song, who relies on you, is not something I can do alone with my strength. Many things will change here. Lady Scipia, if you let us use your strength, it will help immensely." After thinking for a long while, Scipia said, "All right, I understand. And seeing how Song perceives the world, this work has become even more important to me, more crucial than ever before." The narrator continues, explaining that time passed this way, and then Song's 10th birthday arrived. Unlike previous birthdays, this time people from the Empire's factions also came to enjoy the banquet. Among them was someone who had been getting special attention for several days, Marcus Ulysses. As he approached Song's side, he welcomed him warmly. Seeing him, Ulysses said, "Truly, it's great to meet you." Then the scene shifts to earlier, showing that a lot of food had been prepared for the banquet. There, the sounds of many people laughing and talking could be heard. Song was also visible among them, looking quite confused as he listened to their conversations about the Black Duke and the Empire. Seeing this, he glanced around and thought that many nobles from the imperial capital had come here from the empire factions, which were the strongest forces in the constitution. This empire existed in the name of the emperor, and Song could easily guess the main reason why all of them had come to this banquet. In reality, they had come here to deliver a warning, a message from the imperial family that they would not just stand by and watch someone insult the sword saint like this. And the messenger who could convey this message most clearly was now standing in front of him, greeting Song, and saying that he was truly pleased to meet him. We are then introduced to Yuri, the head of the Red Tower, who pursued fire and fury so that he could spread his power of order across the empire. There was a time when only strength mattered in the empire. The mages of the Red Tower used to release their spirits with full power, never hesitating to ensure that their force stood at the top. It was the Red Tower mages who had subjected all kinds of modifications within me. Ulysses then started praising Song. A genius of the Dougal family, I've heard about you. They say you possess extraordinary talent, something that no one in the entire empire can rival. I've heard many stories about you. I even heard that you wiped out more than 1,000 ogres just to save a knight of your family, all at the age of 9. You truly are the Duke's son. Hearing this, Song decided to play along and replied that he hoped Ulysses would have a wonderful time. After that, he left quietly in the middle of the night, thinking that receiving birthday wishes like this every year was extremely exhausting. If he had a choice, he would rather train with Charlotte, but officially Charlotte was busy assisting his mother. Moreover, it could be dangerous if the daughter of a noble family was seen practicing swordsmanship like this. So he decided that it would be better to practice alone in his short form. Thinking all this, he headed toward the training ground. Suddenly, he heard someone screaming from behind. He was startled. Someone was shouting, "Hey, you little servant, can't you just stay quiet?" Hearing this, Song felt uneasy and thought that it couldn't be possible. He immediately ran toward the source of the voice. We then see Evie crying and pleading, "Please let me go. I am a servant of the Saxon family." A fat man with red hair was pressing her down and angrily said, "How dare a worthless servant like you mention the name of the ducal family? Whether it's the young lord's birthday or anything else, everyone is just enjoying themselves. Instead of wasting time with people, I find it much smarter to have fun with girls. So if you try to resist even a little, I'll cut your mouth into 2 pieces." Did you understand what I just said? At that moment, Song arrived and shouted at the fat man, "Hey, what do you think you're doing here?" Hearing this, the man panicked. "Young Master Song," he muttered in shock. Then he tried to act casual and said that it was what Song was thinking. He even shamelessly asked whether the young master had ever enjoyed such things with a girl before. Hearing this, Song felt disgusted and stared at him angrily. The fat man showed no shame and said that Song was still too young to understand such experiences. Then he introduced himself as Petro and said that he would personally teach him everything. While saying this, he kept Evie captive and she continued crying helplessly. But at that moment, Song activated his magic circle and told Evie that he would save her soon. Seeing this, the fat man became nervous. Song thought that since this man came from the high-class society of the empire, he would never imagine that Song could attack him. The next moment, Song fired a bullet past the man's ear. Startled, the man flung his dagger and hand backward, causing Evie to break free from his grip. Both Evie and the fat man fell to the ground. But Song thought that he had no intention of letting this end so easily. Allowing someone like him to escape without consequences would never be a good choice. The fat man, bleeding from a scratch on his cheek, began screaming in fear. "Young monster, what does this mean?" Song stepped forward and ordered, "Kneel down immediately." The fat man was shocked. "What?" Song shouted again, "Didn't you hear what I said? Kneel down right now and apologize to Evie. As Miss Evie said, she is a servant of our house, which means she is also a part of our family." Hearing this, the fat man became furious and stood up, saying that this was bad for Song because he had come on behalf of His Majesty the Emperor. He claimed that insulting him for the sake of a mere servant meant insulting the Emperor himself. Song interrupted him and said, "So you're saying that trying to violate servants in people's houses is the Emperor's hobby?" Hearing this, the fat man exploded in anger. Their argument attracted all the elders of the house. Ignoring them, Song said firmly that this was the last time he would say it, "Kneel down immediately." Ulysses watched this scene with a smile and remarked that it was truly a fascinating sight. Ellen also arrived, feeling that Song was causing trouble and demanded to know what was happening. Song explained that the man had tried to assault a maid of the Saxon family. The fat man tried to defend himself, calling Song an immature young master, but Ellen interrupted him coldly and asked who had given him permission to stand. Terrified, the fat man collapsed to the ground again. Song then addressed the people from the imperial capital, saying that their duty was to represent His Majesty the Emperor, yet this man was using the Emperor's name to disgrace him by assaulting a maid. Song declared that he could not tolerate such behavior. Ulysses laughed and praised Song's brilliance, saying that what the young master said was absolutely correct. How could someone who came in the name of the Emperor dare to disgrace him by assaulting a maid? Hearing this, the fat man was terrified. Ulysses released his flames and declared that the man had to die for his actions. The fat man begged for his life, screaming for help, but Ulysses, with a terrifying smile, unleashed his flames. The fire engulfed the fat man completely, and only his screams could be heard as his body slowly burned black. Finally, he collapsed to the ground. Ulysses then said that the young master's words were 100% correct and that it was his duty to eliminate anyone who insulted the imperial family's name. He also said that he had great expectations from Song in the future. Hearing this, Song could only glare at him in anger. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. More exciting content is coming soon.